Hi, this is Tom Lavender on Forge TV and Forge Radio. We're with Katherine Ryan here.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on, Tom.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah.
Is this your first time in Sheffield?
No, I've been to Sheffield many times, though not to the university. Maybe I have been to the university. I don't know until I get in the room and get on stage, and then I go, oh yeah.
It's all a bit familiar, yeah.
No, but I've lived in the UK for 8 years.
8 years?
So I've been to a lot of the towns and cities.
Yes. What do you think of Sheffield?
I really like it.
It's very hilly though, isn't it?
Very hilly. You get to see Doncaster on the way.
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
No.
It's near Leeds, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and I really love Leeds. I mean, that way, the accent starts to get interesting.
Yeah.
So I like that.
With the Yorkshire accent.
I'm always a fan of that northern accent. Would you call yourself North in Sheffield or not quite?
Yes, I'd say so.
Any man who's a real man would.
Oh yes.
Good.
When did you know that you first wanted to do comedy for a living?
I didn't. I went to uni, like every person who wants to spend their parents' money. I tried to have a normal life, and then I valued comedy from a really young age, so I didn't consider that it was a career path, but I always watched late night chat shows like Johnny Carson and David Letterman, and to a lesser extent Jay Leno, and I just really respected that. I didn't think I could do it. Joan Rivers. Then I grew up loving things like Adam Sandler. Well, when you're 12, Adam Sandler's funny.
It's true.
Yeah, no, and I loved it. And then I started doing stand-up just as a laugh, like as an exercise, kind of the way that you would join a spin class. You don't set out to be a personal trainer, maybe, but you just think
if you enjoy it.
Yeah, and then slowly, I started getting more gigs, and it just became possible that I didn't have to work in an office anymore. But really, it took years before I decided, maybe I can do this for a living.
So, do you enjoy coming to universities and doing stand-up here?
I really love visiting the universities because it's a bit different than any other crowd. It's different from a tour show, and they're young, and some of them haven't been to see comedy before, but other ones are big comedy fans. But then you have to think a little bit differently about what you'll say. Their references would be really different. I think comedians have different sets and different ideas for all kinds of crowds. If you turn up at a club, you don't know who's going to be there, but if you look out, you can see they're predominantly older couples. Then you're not really going to get too filthy or too current with them. And then if they're young, you really can kind of be young again yourself and just talk about the stuff that you think they're gonna know about. I feel like when you do comedy, you want to hold a mirror up to them and have your audience see something of themselves or their lives in your act. I try to do that with unis. I mean, I went to uni, but it was
Where'd you go to university?
Years ago. I went to a university called Ryerson in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
In Canada, yeah. So, I mean, it was a long time ago. And no comedians came to visit us. Sad. We didn't have a great student union. No.
So you've been on many panel shows, and you're very funny on them too, of course.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Well, thank you. You never know how it's going to go, do you?
That's true.
Scary.
But how does that compare to stand-up, do you reckon? And which do you prefer?
I think it's important to do both television and live stand-up because you're lucky to do either. Yeah. But when you do television, you've already been doing stand-up a long time. Nobody just comes out of nowhere and does television. You've been on the circuit. Audience. It comes out of the audience. The bookers are really good in the UK. That's one of the reasons I moved here. They're really good at getting out to see fresh, upcoming comedy talent. They'll give you a chance. My first chance was on 8 out of 10 Cats in May 2012, and I had auditioned for that. They didn't just pick me out of the sky. They
so you can audition for it?
A bunch of the comedians starting out will do an office run through, and that's an audition, and they kind of feel you out. And it can go really well, or it can go really badly, and then you never do it again. But mine, I was really lucky, and a lot of it is just luck. I did okay. It was a good atmosphere, a good mix of people on the day, and it went well, I guess. And then I got to do more, and I love doing that. And that's because you get to reach a different audience, a wider audience in their own home, and to be a guest in someone's home, which is effectively what we're doing, is really personal. It's really exciting, and you feel really blessed to be invited. You're not invited, but you're sort of invited. And then they might come out to see you live on tour because they've seen you on the telly. So one feeds the other. But if you stopped doing stand-up, and you stopped going out and having that conversation and meeting with audiences live, then you'd get really rusty and you wouldn't be funny on TV anymore.
Yeah.
So to not answer your question, I really, really do love doing both equally, but for different reasons. I think you have to do both.
Yeah. Like I say, very familiar with television. But are there any shows that you'd really, really like to go on in particular? Sort of Strictly Come Dancing, X Factor.
Yeah, I would not want to go on the
Piers
X
Morgan's
Factor.
Life Stories.
I don't think Piers Morgan's that bad.
No.
People give him a hard time.
He does get a lot of stick.
I think he's doing it almost like a character.
Yeah.
On a level. He has some interesting positions on things, but I think he's just embraced being the villain. And he's kind of a cool guy. I have been on a lot of the panel shows that I admired starting out as a comedian. I'd love to do a late night chat show one day, either be a guest on a late night chat show and get to, because that is my first love, that format. Like Jonathan Ross or Alan Carr, I'd love to go on those and have a chat, but I'd also love to do one day down the road in the future.
Or in
and
the States.
In the States, yeah, I everybody's dream is kind of to cruck America. It seems. It's not mine at all. No, I want to live here. I love that my daughter's being raised British. I just think America, for comedians, is really cutthroat, but also the style of comedy isn't my favorite. There are some American comedians that I love, but I genuinely feel that British comedy is the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I would want to stay here. Yeah.
Glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here. I'm trying to think. Strictly, I don't know if I just embarrassed myself. I'd like to.
That's what it's all about, though, isn't it?
Yeah. X Factor, no, can't sing. I can dance a little bit better than I can sing, and I can't dance. So, we'll see. Splash. Isn't that the one where you just fall in the water?
You just splash, yeah.
Yeah, you just wear something really skimpy and fall over.
Not tumble.
It's my kind of show. I was considered for tumble. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I wasn't asked. Like, I think they look around. Again, they kind of consider who they're going to have.
Scouting.
But I'm glad that I'm not on tumble.
Well, thank you for having us on Forge. I've been Tom Lavin, and it's been the very funny Katherine Ryan.
Thank you very much for having me, Sheffield. Master Sheffield.